All right, we have all been there. You're in the produce aisle staring at two options, organic or conventional. It seems like it should be a simple choice, right? But it's surrounded by so much debate. So let's just cut through all that noise and look at what one of the most comprehensive scientific reviews of 2024 actually discovered.
You're looking at two bunches of carrots. One's organic, and yeah, it costs more. Is that extra cash really buying you better health? Or is it maybe just buying a little peace of mind? That's the big question we're going to tackle today. To get past all the marketing hype and the headlines, we really need to understand how science comes up with actual answers. It's a whole process designed to filter out bias and get us closer to the truth. So we're not just going to pull up some random cherry-picked study. No, we're going straight to the gold standard of evidence, something called a systematic review. This is how scientists figure out what the genuine consensus is on a topic. And what is that exactly? Well, imagine scientists as detectives. They hunt down every single high-quality study on a topic, then they pull all that data together to see what the combined evidence really says. It's an incredibly tough, rigorous process. And check this out. This flowchart shows the exact process from that 2024 review we're looking at. The researchers started with this massive pool of studies and then applied a super strict filtering system. And just look at these numbers. They started with over 1,700 studies. But after they sifted through everything, checking for quality and relevance to human health, they were left with just 21. That's how high the bar is set in science. Okay, so what did this incredibly selective process actually find? Well, the first, and honestly the most clear-cut conclusion, was all about pesticides. And it's interesting, right? The strongest evidence wasn't about something extra you get in organic food. It was all about what you avoid, exposure to synthetic pesticides. And the difference is pretty dramatic. One clinical trial found that after just 1 week on a mostly organic diet, the levels of certain pesticide byproducts in people's urine just plummeted by 89%. That's a huge change in a really short amount of time. The review's authors basically said this finding was consistent across the board, which suggests there could be real health benefits. So the takeaway here is pretty unambiguous. If your main goal is to lower your intake of synthetic pesticides, the evidence says an organic diet works. Okay, let's move on to our second finding. This is where we go from pesticide exposure to direct health outcomes. Specifically, what scientists call cardiometabolic health. We're talking about things like obesity, diabetes, and risk factors for heart disease. So here, the review found some really compelling links. These big, large-scale studies showed that people who frequently ate organic food tended to have lower rates of obesity, a whopping 35% lower risk of type 2 diabetes in one major study, and lower rates of high blood pressure and cholesterol. But, and this is a really critical distinction in science, the key word is association. It means these things are linked, but we can't prove that the organic food caused the better health. I mean, think about it. People who choose organic might also be more likely to exercise or have other healthy habits. The science confirms a link, but it hasn't proven one causes the other just yet. So we have one really clear finding, and one that's promising, but a bit more complicated. Now let's get into the areas where the science gets a lot murkier, and the answers are, well, far from settled. This is the one a lot of people care about. We know some pesticides have been linked to cancer, so does eating organic actually lower that risk? Well, when researchers looked at the evidence, they found it was deeply divided. To see why, just look at these two huge studies. A French study with almost 70,000 people found a 25% lower overall cancer risk for folks who ate a lot of organic food. Okay, that sounds pretty good. But then a massive UK study with over 600,000 women found absolutely no link at all. So when you have two huge, well-designed studies pointing in totally opposite directions, it's impossible to draw a strong conclusion. The review's authors officially called the evidence on cancer risk inconclusive. For right now, we just don't have a clear answer. And what about that other common claim? You know the one, that organic food is just flat out more nutritious, that it's packed with more vitamins and minerals. Is there any truth to that? Well, here too, the evidence was a total mixed bag. Sure, some studies showed higher levels of certain nutrients, but others found no difference at all, or even found lower levels of things like iron. So when you put all the data together, there was just no consistent proof that organic food wins on nutrition. So after looking at pesticides, health risks, cancer, and nutrition, what's the bottom line? Let's put all these pieces together and get to a final verdict. Here it is, the scientific consensus from that 2024 review, all in one place. In the clear benefits column, you've got one big one: significantly lower exposure to synthetic pesticides. Then, in the potential and uncertain column, an association with lower cardiometabolic risks, but we can't prove it's the cause. And finally, in the inconclusive column, you've got both cancer risk and superior nutrition. And honestly, the review itself says it best. They state that we need more long-term studies to really know if an organic diet is truly superior. It's the perfect reminder that science is always an ongoing process, and this is just where our understanding is today.
So now you have a clear, evidence-based picture of what science can and, just as importantly, cannot say about organic food and your health. The choice is still yours, of course, but now it can be a much more informed one. The real question is, what will you decide?